Welcome to Bitcoin Mining News Episode 1. Be sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all things energy and Bitcoin mining related. In today's mining news, we'll be heading around the world, but let's start with the numbers. Right here, you're looking at timechaincalendar.com, and in the top right, you will see the exchange rate. For $30,102, you will get a single Bitcoin. For $1, you will get 3,322 sats. We are currently at block height 796,320. On-chain transaction fees aren't terrible, but they've been better in the past day or so. So look for lower fees if you want to move things around on-chain. We just had a difficulty adjustment, so that's why the average block time is exactly 10 minutes. The next difficulty adjustment isn't all that accurate just yet. We'll have to wait for another dozen or more blocks for that to level out there. And then the hash rate for the last 14 days is 361.9 exahash. Heading over to the news, we've got this from Cointelegraph. Bitcoin miners send record 128 million in revenue to exchanges. Bitcoin miners have sent up to 315% of their daily revenue to exchanges, but Bitcoin prices are yet to react. We're going to get back to that in a second, but that's an important thing to remember here. In a June 27th tweet, on-chain analytics platform Glassnode reported an all-time high in Bitcoin miner revenue sent to exchanges. It noted that there was currently an, quote, extremely high exchange interaction, end quote, from Bitcoin miners, which had sent a record 128 million to exchanges over the past week. This is equivalent to 315% of their daily revenue, the analytics platform noted. Bitcoin prices are yet to be affected, however, as the asset remains slightly above the 30,000 threshold at the time of publication, and that still remains to be true as we see here. Profitability has slumped more than 30% since July last year and is down over 80% since the peak of the 2021 bull market. When combined with almost record hash rates of 377 exahashes per second and peak difficulty levels, Bitcoin miners are still facing an uphill battle. Increasing hash rates and difficulty, combined with higher energy prices, have put downward pressure on mining profitability. This means that selling their hard-earned Bitcoin may prove an unpleasant necessity to cover expenses. The part that really stands out to me there is that when you have that much Bitcoin moving from the miners to the exchanges, and we haven't seen any major price swings, combine that with all this talk of these ETFs being filed or reworded so that they have a higher chance of getting accepted, it begs the question, what are we going to see in the coming days, weeks, and months as more people adopt a Bitcoin standard? Moving on with the news, we've got this bit from Blockworks. Riot Inc.'s MicroBT deal to build Bitcoin miners in US, not China. I heard Pierre Richard talking about this just the other day. It was actually the 27th, Tuesday, and he was saying how this is a big deal. They are really glad to be getting miners made in the US, and we're going to be diving into that exact point here in this article. The purchased MicroBT machines to be created at a new facility in Pittsburgh will be for Riot's Corsicana facility in Texas's Navarro County. Riot broke ground on the 1 gigawatt expansion project last October, slated to be bigger than its now largest 700 megawatt Rockdale facility. The initial order for the, quote, long-term purchase agreement, end quote, amounts to 33,280 machines at a price of roughly $163 million, or $21.50 per terahash. Riot has the option to buy an additional 66,560 machines before the end of 2024 at the same price. The company previously had to charter jets and endure expensive shipping costs to get machines delivered overseas, Les said. The arrangement with MicroBT de-risks the logistics, he added, as now trucks can ship the miners from Pennsylvania to Texas. That makes a lot of sense. Delivery of the 33,280 machines is expected to start in December, as deployment would follow in the first quarter of next year. Those machines would raise Riot's hash rate to 20.1 exahashes. So with the current hash rate for the last 14 days sitting at an average of 361, that's about 5.5% of the total hash rate. That is no small player in this space. Now we're going to move from Corsicana, Texas, which is right here as you can see, all the way there on the eastern side of Texas. And we're going to go to the other side of the world. We're heading to a place that before this article I had never heard of, so get ready. We're going on a ride all the way into space and all the way here to Quilpie Shire in the middle of kind of nowhere, Queensland, Australia. So if I zoom out here a little bit, you can see this is basically a barren landscape. There is not a whole lot going on in terms of infrastructure, but there is Bitcoin mining happening out here. When I first got into Bitcoin, I was only interested in it for the NGU, number go up, but now I'm interested in it for far more than that. I would say the NGU aspect of Bitcoin is the least interesting thing about it. So when I come across an article like this, it really stands out to me because this is the kind of thing that really interests me. Energy being produced in places where there isn't a whole lot else going on. And you'll see in these pictures as I go through this article, there isn't much out here, but there is Bitcoin mining. Talk about stranded energy. This is from ABC News in Australia. Bengal Energy launches Bitcoin mining Donga project in outback Queensland, the first of its kind in Australia. And I believe we'll get to it as I go through the majority of this article, but this little box here, this is the Donga, from what I understand. Stuart McKenzie counts his family among some of the early pioneers of Queensland's Channel Country, but the sheep grazier, who spends his days traversing his vast station, is now pioneering in a very different way, mining for Bitcoin. Since early this year, Canadian company Bengal Energy has run a pilot program on Mr. McKenzie's property using a donga fitted with 66 machines to mine for Bitcoin. The donga, a basic, demountable shed, harnesses untapped natural gas from local wells that can't be distributed to the national grid. The energy is then connected to the internet using NBN satellites, which power Bitcoin, a process that involves running mathematical calculations on computers. Now, side note, this being written by Victoria Pengeli, I'm not really sure what she means by power Bitcoin. What powers Bitcoin are the miners in a way. That's just weird terminology, powering Bitcoin. So I'm not entirely sure what she means there. It's not inaccurate exactly, because there's a lot that goes into powering Bitcoin, but continuing. Why move gas to a city? Stuart McKenzie, who is also Quilpie Shire mayor, was not familiar with cryptocurrency before being approached to build the donga on his property near Eromanga. But he said the project was exciting for outback Queensland, which had a long history of oil and gas development. It was the first time I'd heard of anyone doing something like this, Councillor McKenzie said. Production was due to take place last year, but was stalled due to wet weather. While the concept sounds complex, Mr. Eberspacher said it was a very simple process. Imagine the gas coming out of the ground in a wellhead. Then that goes through a choke valve, which reduces pressure, which then goes through a long heating coil. Then we put it into a gas generator, which generates power, he said. There's a big 3-phase power cable which is connected to a donga, which has 2 racks of computers and a server. Then there's a satellite to basically connect us to the internet. The donga is monitored remotely by teams in Brisbane and Canada. So it's a set and forget, Mr. Eberspacher said. Cryptocurrency mining uses huge amounts of energy. True. A report published in Scientific Reports last year found Bitcoin mining in 2020 used more energy than Austria or Portugal, and its emissions, as a proportion of market value, were comparable to the beef industry. It depends on the price of Bitcoin. The more expensive it is, the more energy it takes to generate it, economist John Quiggin from the University of Queensland said. Professor Quiggin said Bitcoin was difficult to mine due to the way the currency was built, meaning it requires more processing power than other coins. At first, we got dazed and confused looks, and oil producers thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world, co-founder and chief executive of U.S. company Giga Energy, Matt Lostro, said. The entrepreneur has been running a similar model to Bengal Energy in Texas, using flare gas since 2019, and said the industry for gas-powered crypto mining was booming. There's now a Bitcoin mining section at oil and gas conferences, Mr. Lostra said. The article closes with this sentence. Back on his station, Councillor McKenzie is hopeful more companies will explore using stranded gas wells for innovative projects. I couldn't agree more. I look forward to seeing all sorts of innovative ways that people find to harness energy. Until next time, be safe in your minds, whether it's here or out there.